Hey guys, what's up? This is Cody back once again. This is kind of a spontaneous video right now, but I'm back to do another movie review. And the movie that I'm going to be doing a review of, I just got back from seeing with my cousin Spencer. My dad actually had two free movie tickets to the local theater that's around us, and so I decided to call up my cousin and go see a movie. And the movie we chose was Anchorman 2. Now, I've always been a big fan of Will Ferrell. I think he's a pretty funny guy. He's always made me laugh in all the movies he's been in. I've always liked every movie that he's been in, and I was a pretty big fan of the first Anchorman film. But this one, I wasn't as excited to see this one because there's been a lot of bad comedies that have come out recently, and there's never been one that's actually made me laugh out loud. That's one thing that's really hard with new comedies. Even older comedies, there really isn't that many comedies that have actually made me laugh out loud. And for this one, I actually did a little bit. I really enjoyed this movie. There were some points in it where I was just, laughing out loud at it. It's not a hilarious movie, but it's actually a pretty good, funny film. Basically, you have the full cast is back together. Of course, you got Will Ferrell playing Ron. Then you've got his wife and Veronica, and they're of course working at the same news station that they were in the first film. Whereas in this one, Veronica actually gets gets offered a job as a new news leader in one of the biggest probably one of the biggest news stations around at that point. And she takes it, but unfortunately, Ron, he's of course assuming, well, they're gonna hire him too. They don't. They end up firing him, and he basically just goes off and tells her that if it's either him or the job, and she chooses the job, and they end up getting a divorce. He also has a son. I think his son's name is Walter, and yeah, and so he just really doesn't spend a lot of time with him, and she ends up getting angry at him for not spending a lot of time with him. Also, the whole rest of the cast is there. Carell's character is really fun in this movie. Paul Rudd's character, since Ron and Veronica were sort of the big names in news, they've all quit the news business, and they've all got these weird jobs. Paul Rudd's character is actually a cat photographer, which I thought was pretty funny. And I forget the other guy's name, but it's the tall, bald guy. It looks like he owns a chicken restaurant, but he's actually selling fried bats, is apparently what he's doing, which is pretty funny. And Ron, he's really down that he doesn't have a job now, and he's pretty much, his whole life is going down the drain. He's just living in his house, just randomly eating stuff. He's just completely completely miserable until somebody offers him a job to be on a 24-hour news station. Which, of course, he jumps on it, and he gets all the guys to come back. Everybody comes back in this movie, and they all start working there. He then finds out who his boss is, and it turns out that his boss is the first African-American news anchor woman. And the movie was made in it was made, I think, in the 70s. It takes place in the 70s. I forget exactly what year. But of course, back then, a black woman on the news or on anything was sort of like a big thing. So, like the first time he sees her, he's just staring at her and he just keeps going, black, black. It was pretty funny, and I really like movies that take place in the 60s and the 70s because I'm a big fan of both those time periods and the way that people, they dressed and everything. So I liked, some of the styles in the film. But right after, so he, of course, gets a job, and they end up becoming famous again. He, starts getting more ratings. There's actually one guy in there who's sort of like the big guy, and he's kind of a jerk to him. So Ron basically says, hey, if we get more ratings to you on the first night, then you have to change your last name from Lime to Lame. I forget the guy's first name, but his last name is Lime. So they bet him that if they get more ratings, then he has to change his name to Lame. And of course Ron does. But the way he does it, that he actually starts talking about the news that people actually want to hear. He talks about different types of news that's going on, like if there's like a car chase, then he says, hey, go to that and watch that. Because the news didn't really do stuff like that back, during the time it was, during this time period in the 70s, and he was, the first person to start doing it, apparently. And it makes him very popular. People were actually interested in watching the news. It's no longer boring, for most people, and they've actually got stuff fun to watch. I don't know if you would call like a car chase fun, but it's something that it's interesting to watch, and so people they start watching it, and they start getting higher and higher ratings. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about it so far. Like I said, I was a big fan of the film. I really enjoyed it. Like most Judd Apatow films, it was pretty long. I think it was over 2 hours. I'm not sure if it was 3 hours or not, but I remember sitting there with my cousin and even looking at him and being like, man, this movie's long. And it did feel like it dragged a bit, but it wasn't like boring or anything. It had laughs all the way through. It was entertaining all the way, all out. Some of the jokes in it, I felt like that they spent too much time on one joke, and they spread the joke out a little bit. Like, they would do one joke and they would add on to it, which I felt was a bit unnecessary. I think that they could have cut down some of the jokes that lasted a long time in the movie, and then the movie would have been shorter and would have flowed faster. But other than that, this movie was a pretty decent, funny film. There's one point in it where Ron actually loses his eyesight. He's ice skating, and one of his rivals, the guy that he bets to change his name to Lame, I forget his first name, but he's actually ice skating, and the guy throws a wire onto the ice skating ring, and Ron slips on it, hits his head, and actually goes blind. And the whole film is Veronica trying to help him get his eyesight back. Well, not his eyesight back, but actually help him learn how to do things, because there's one point where he's just sitting in the house and he's just eating whatever he can pick up. And it's kind of funny, like he's telling, like, I picked up a lobster and tried to brush my teeth with it, and Paul Rudd's character's like, even though you're blind, you would still notice that that's not a toothbrush, that's a lobster. And he pretends he can't do anything because he's blind. But, yeah, also he does start dating the black news anchor. I cannot remember her name, for a while. And then, of course, her and Veronica kind of get at it, which I thought was, alright. One of the things that they did in this movie, which they did in the other one, is when they had all the news channels fight in that epic battle in the middle. Like in the first film, they do it, and they have a bunch of cameos in the first one, like Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn is in it. In this one, they actually took that scene to another level. First, they have Kanye West in it, which I'm not a fan of Kanye West at all. I really don't like him, but I thought it was kind of funny to see him in this movie. Then they had Will Smith come in, which, again, is like, why is Will Smith in Anchorman 2, But that was a pretty, that was a pretty good one, too. And the last one was Jim Carrey, who's also in it, which I was really surprised to see him. He played a Canadian. They were in a Canadian news team. And what, if you know anything about Canada, apparently the people there are they're very nice, and they have good manners. So every time that they would do something, like Jim Carrey is throwing like rocks at him, and he's like, and every time after he throws, he's like, sorry, and it's really funny. And that whole scene actually goes out of hand, and it does get a bit, I don't want to say ridiculous, but it does take it to a whole nother level. So, can I recommend Anchorman 2? Absolutely. I thought it was a really good, solid sequel. It lives up to the first one, because I actually found this one a bit funnier than the first one because it was so over the top and ridiculous. There's some jokes in it that I noticed some people were gonna watch and be like, that was kind of dumb, but it was a good movie, it wasn't that horrible. Would I recommend it to go see it in theaters? I'd say maybe wait until it comes to Netflix or get it on Blu-ray. But as for me, I really did enjoy it. The only thing I didn't like was that I actually had to listen to people talking next to me, which always annoys me. That's one reason why I don't like going to see movies in theaters anymore, because people don't know how to stop talking during a movie. Or when they take out their cell phones, I can't stand that either. But anyway guys, that was my review for Anchorman 2. Feel free to let me know what you think if you guys have seen it, and let me know what your favorite Will Ferrell movie is. Alright, that is it. But now I want to go ahead and do the rest of this video and wish you guys a very happy new year. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, like I said in my last video, and I hope everybody has a great New Year's Eve. I hope best wishes for 2014. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and just liking, commenting, just everything. Thanks so much for supporting my channel throughout 2013. And I really look forward to your support in 2014. I've got a lot of good stuff coming on my channel. Lots of new different reviews. I've reorganized all my movies. I have tons of new collectibles to show off. And it's just going to be a big year for me on YouTube. So thanks to everyone for subscribing. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody, once again, has a wonderful new year. Happy 2014, everybody. Thanks for supporting me. Check out Anchorman 2. And I will see you all next time.